This episode of the Council of the First Ones was recorded on January 23rd, 2022.
Hello and welcome to the Council of the First Ones. I'm your host, Kelly. Joining me today is Dave from adultcollective.org. How are you doing, Dave?
Hello. It's been a while. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
And also joining us is Shawn. Hey, Shawn, how's everything doing?
I'm here. Here I am on the other side of 2021. Let's hope 2022 is better. So,
Well,
good to be back.
we had some highs and some sad moments during our time off. I mean, to find out on Christmas Day that one of the people that helped create this beautiful universe passed away is heartbreaking. If you have not heard by now, Mark Taylor has passed. I mean, he was such a wonderful man. I've gotten to meet him multiple times at PowerCon. We had him on the show. I mean, he was larger than life.
And I'm so happy that Renee did have a chance to speak with him, and you know how excited he was for that.
Oh yes, he was a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, it was like a highlight of his life.
He's already knocking on heaven's door, saying, "Mark, can we talk?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Honest. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, David.
No, go ahead.
No, like hearing the news about it was, sadly, I don't want to say it was surprising. It was more the timing of it, because we knew he had health problems, and obviously he is getting older and older, and there is that feeling of you only have people so long once they get to certain ages and all that stuff. So you appreciate the time you have with them. But what I did in honor of him, actually, on Christmas Eve, was my wife and I usually do like once the kids go to bed, we'll put on a movie and we'll wrap presents in the living room while we're watching that. This year, my wife wasn't feeling so hot and the kids were difficult, so I was out there doing the majority of it. I put on the Toys That Made Us, and the first thing I heard in my ears that night was him talking about Skeletor.
Oh, nice.
And I just sat there smiling, and I was thinking of the first Christmas I ever remember from my childhood, which was the Christmas I got Castle Grayskull. And there was just this, like, to quote George Lucas with the prequels and the original trilogy of Star Wars, it rhymed for me. It had that feeling of, like the alpha and omega of my geekdom that night, just kind of going, I'm really sorry that you're gone, but damn, did you make that the most memorable birth or Christmas of my childhood? Because when I opened that present on Christmas morning, and there's that Rudy Obrero artwork staring at my 4-year-old little eyes and all that stuff, and it's like, he did that for so many kids, and he's got so much love from people that he touched through his creativity. And I mean, what better for an artist and a creator, what more could you ask to leave behind than have that many people that are still happy with what you did?
He's touched so many lives, and it's wonderful that he stayed a part of the community. Him and his wife Rebecca attended the PowerCon conventions, and spoke to a lot of the fans like us, and it's great that we can, there are recordings of those discussions, and we can look back on them, and I'm hoping that will have chances to, moving forward, chances to speaking with his wife.
Yeah.
And he's it really is a great title, the toys that made us, because they have such a profound impact on who we are, in our development, and not to mention our shared passion, our hobby for toys.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And I mean, he impacted two of the lines that mattered to me when I was a kid, and I still forget that from time to time. But he was also working on Ninja Turtles when that one started,
Yep.
and over at Playmates and everything. But I mean, for me at least, he was on our show, and unfortunately, when we have so many hosts, it really is hard sometimes to like jump in with a question when there's other people with questions and all that. And I didn't get to ask him anything that night, but the one thing that I wish I could have asked him, if I could have seen him at PowerCon at one time or something, is just, I know he was working on a book and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and telling his story about Masters. And there's a part of me that always would have loved to have read mini comics based on his ideas of what he would have done with the brand and the stories he would have, because obviously they were starkly different than what we grew up with, but they still probably would have been just as amazing to see, and just as, it would have probably grabbed us by the throat and gone, kid, there's no Orco, but we're gonna make this awesome anyway. Just pull you through this thing. And this adventure, and him with his ideas of, if this blonde buff guy walks into a bar riding on Battle Cat, are you really going to give him any kind of crap? It's like, no. his version was very much the, hey kids, if you like these toys, you're gonna get hair on your chest at 4 years old. It's like, yeah, this works. and that's kind of how I picture him, just from how his personality in interviews that I've gotten to listen to or read and stuff. And I can't help it. It makes me happy to even think that kind of personality is a part of the line. And his stamp is really there with a lot of his contributions and stuff. And yeah, it sucks that he's gone, but talk about a legacy. He really did leave a legacy. So
I was thinking about that book the other day. That project that he him and Rebecca told us about, and
yeah,
I am wondering how much of that was finished, but yeah, we may never see anything from it, notes and such, but we'll see. Yeah, it would have been very exciting to read that book. I was really looking forward to it.
likewise. Yeah.
Only time will tell if we get to see it. But you can even tell the love is still continuing, because FOMO is releasing their version of Lords of Power based on his drawings.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's still
th-
living on.
that's part of why that line appeals to me as much as it does, because I feel like I got to meet Josh Van Pelt at Legion's Con back in November, and he and I had he gave me more than a few moments to talk with him, which was awesome. And I mean, for me, it was just like, I told him that knowing more and more about that line, it feels like this is the Mark Taylor director cut, and
Yes.
I love that about it, because that line is adding modern sensibilities with a Build-A-Figure, with the stuff that Mark already had in the sketchbooks and preliminaries and stuff. And I mean, yeah, it just, if you want to talk about a way to make a tribute to something you loved as a kid, that is the perfect line to point at and go, it's not Masters, but damn, does it feel like home, when you see these things. And
Right.
a lot of that is that they used the one of the creators of the brand to help the line start out. And how cool is that?
Yep.
So
There's
When I saw those toys, I was like, damn, where Here's my credit card.
Exactly. And their pre-order starting up, I think, in the next couple. I think they had to delay it by a week. But
yeah, but it's within the next couple of days.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be a good one. If you want to honor that memory of Mark, it'll be right there in toy form for you pretty soon.
That, and I also saw it today on Facebook. Someone actually created Mark Taylor's version of Castle Grayskull.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They call it a Skull Castle, I think.
Yep. I was like, that looks so cool.
Mm-hmm. I liked when he talked about them working on that at Mattel, and he was so annoyed that they were using straight edges and making it architectural. And then when you see that, you're like, that it's like the way Grayskull worked out is a nice amalgamation of that. But when you see the Skull Castle, it's like, no, that would have been even creepier to see as a kid, that big.
Yep.
Like Castle Grayskull, and that's your fortress. It's like, and that's where it's the whole thing. I love that about Masters to this day. That's where the good guys are. Yeah.
Well, remember, he said the original idea was more of capture the flag. It was whoever had both halves of the sword could claim the castle.
And I still to this day love that aspect of it. I absolutely love the capture the flag of the mini comics of that era. But it's like, when you see that and you think if Filmation had to take the reins and make that the castle instead of how Grayskull looked, and that would have been that's where the good guys look. Yeah. That's what helps the good guys.
Filmation would have definitely changed Castle Grayskull. You figure they would not even use stink gore.
Yeah, that's
Bluesheimer refused to use stink gore.
Because he was a walking fart joke.
Yeah, thankfully 2000X threw that rule out the window. And honestly, I was thrilled to see him in that. And plus Revelation did then too. And
yep.
I could see in the 80s it made sense, but now after all this time, it is great that like a character like that isn't just that. But he always struck me as like the Charlie Brown of the bad guys. The whole, of course you guys don't like me. I stink. I'm great in battles, but when I get back to Snake Mountain, you make me use the outhouse.
I mean, he was Pigpen of our
Pigpen. That's right. That's right, Pigpen. Oh yeah.
But on a lighter note, there's a couple of anniversaries going on this month as well. Both adultcollector.org and Council of the First Ones. It is our 10th anniversary.
Yay!
Nice. Congratulations all around.
Yeah, put on your party hats.
Oh, trust me, I was getting emails from some of the past members. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. They're like, how could you forget? I said, I'm busy doing everything else.
Yeah.
I said I was putting in my paperwork for Toy Fair when they announced that Toy Fair was canceled again.
Again, yeah, it's gonna be another one of those years, cancellations and whatnot. But
I just hope it's not as bad.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I can understand them taking the precautions, and Toy Fair's never been as crowded as like New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con, because it is an industry only event where the media is allowed to go in. So it was never really super crowded, but they turned the Javits Center, which is the size of 7 football fields, to give you an idea how big it is, into Cubicle City. Every toy company literally has walls built, and you have to have appointment times to get in. So probably with the airflow, that's what they were more concerned about.
Right. Yeah.
because I know like Mattel would always take the top floor in the Javits Center. Hasbro was never at Toy Fair. They actually had their own event off-site. But I'd say it was just more of airflow and making sure everyone was just safe.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it'll be back next year.
Well,
Hopefully we won't be going into year 4 of this. It's bad
Right.
enough we're in year 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about this just yesterday, how, take restaurants, for example. It was a really nice sushi restaurant that I wanted to take my wife to, and it's takeout only. It has been for over a year. And or almost a year. And, other restaurants are sit-down restaurants, right? They don't just do takeout. And so it's really just for every business, it's just their own personal choice, and that goes for, employers, whether to keep the employees remote or not. And I think, the longer this goes on, we're gonna, different shows, different conventions and shows they're just gonna have to make these choices of, are they gonna change how they go about offering the event, change the layout, change what they do, or are they gonna, just stay
They could be
closed?
also limiting how many people can go.
Right. Yeah. Or how many people can be in the door at one time and whatnot. Yeah. Should we just have outdoor conventions? Make sure all the shows are in dry places and with nice weather. And then just have everything outdoors.
San Diego pretty much can do that. Oh, wait. Last time I was at San Diego, it did. Because it took over the ballpark, the whole park across the street, almost all of the Gaslight District, plus 7 other buildings.
Wow.
But talking about conventions, PowerCon is moving again. And this time they are trying Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
That's different. For someone who's never been to PowerCon, I can honestly say, okay.
Well, my big fear is that for the 4th year of PowerCon, they came out they wanted to do it on the East Coast. But 1, not enough tickets were sold, and 2, they had a hard time getting vendors, and 3, getting the guests from the West Coast to the East Coast, that it wound up being canceled.
Yeah.
I just hope they're not going to run into that problem again.
How long ago was it when they sent out that it was kind of like a news release about it, or at least an announcement for it? Was it about a month ago now?
It was right before the Christmas holiday.
I thought so.
Either right before or right after.
Yeah, like I'd say, like I know from friends of mine that they would be interested in going. There is this feeling of it's become an all inclusive, almost like a toy show now, compared to it being like a convention that is aimed at just strictly Masters of the Universe and Princess of Power. And so there is this feeling of, is it going to have enough of that to make a fan want to go the distance to go to Ohio? Like in my case, I'm driving about 5.5 miles west of me to go, and I'd go because of the distance being shorter. but there is this feeling of, that maybe all of the mystique of what everybody went out to California for up until this year won't be there this year for the fact that it's going to be more of a toy show than it is a PowerCon, maybe.
Yeah, and I remember the earlier days when they did try with Thundercats and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mhm.
For a few years. PowerCon did do it with Thundercats. I think it was 3 years. And then 1 year with the Turtles. And then it went strictly Motu.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more people enjoyed it when it was strictly Motu because we all speak a common language.
Right.
Mm. Yeah. Again, like around the country, whether the quarantine's there or not or whatever, at this point, I've seen enough conventions where people can go out and go to a toy show now, whether
Yeah.
you wear masks or you're vaccinated, whatever. Like I've been to toy shows even during the pandemic locally, and it is this feeling of like, do I drive 5.5 hours for a toy show versus obviously it would have taken a lot more money for me to fly all the way out to California and plan that accordingly with everything I got going on. But there is that feeling of that's kind of its only thing, like that's one of its that's the only show you'll go to where it is strictly Masters of the Universe
Right.
and Princes of Power, and there is this feeling of like, okay, last year we witnessed the Origins line becoming a big deal because obviously that started at the very end of 2020 with that fall is when that really started happening. We have the Masterverse line now. We have the CGI cartoon toy line now. We have a CGI cartoon. We got Revelation. We have comic books, the prequel books that came out, and all this. Masters has been in the public eye again for the first time, as strong as it was since probably the 80s, because I don't even think 2000X got those kind of views.
No.
And it is interesting how now it's getting pulled back to it becoming this. We don't know enough. At least I don't personally know enough of what's happening behind the scenes, but there is this feeling with this of, did Mattel pull something to say, look, you can't do this because now we want more control because it is a brand that now we want our hands into way more than we have, even though the fans were keeping this alive up until last year when everything hit big. I'm just curious if that has anything to do with it, and that's why they're becoming more inclusive to make it work on its own.
Well, we don't.
Who knows?
As you said,
We
we just
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
I we could speculate all day, and I'd love to throw some speculation in there, but I won't, because I don't, that just generates rumors and whatnot, and who knows? It'd be great to speak with Val about it, to get some sense of, and maybe there's some public announcements. We'll learn more as we get closer to PowerCon about why the decision was made to be more inclusive, to move out to Ohio, and
Yeah, because like you were saying, a lot of people use it as a destination vacation.
Yeah.
And I know I was looking, I'm like, what is there in Columbus, Ohio to do? I saw all these sports teams. I'm not into sports.
Yeah, me neither.
Where I would have probably been out in California for a week, so I had time to go to Disney World or Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last
But I'm in
year.
the same boat as you, where I'm like, I think I'm going to wait and see before I commit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last year, me and my wife spent a week in California, drove down the coast, and took a plane, but then drove down the coast. Just an amazing vacation. And we honestly, that weekend, spent most of the time in at Disneyland. I really hadn't gone through Disneyland before, and I had so much fun during the week that I just wanted to spend more time with her. So, but yeah, I don't know. Are there a lot of other convention, like toy shows around that region, that area? Don't know what
Don't
what the
I haven't
pull is.
heard of any, but being that I'm not from that area, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But just like someone said, there's a whole bunch of toy shows that go on in Jersey that I can go to. If I wanted to, I could go to a toy show almost every weekend.
Yeah. And a few, I want to say, not too far from the Ohio destination. If you drive north, they have like King County Toy Show, which is one of the biggest toy shows in the U.S. There's certain things about that where it's like, okay, are they trying to make a run for that? That's where all the speculation in my head keeps creeping in. Like, I'm not sure what they're trying to do with this. And but yeah, if it is a toy show and like, they don't have as many of the people that work on the brand visible there, and it's way more built up to be that, I probably won't do the 5.5 hour drive out to there, and I'll just I'll see what happens next year then, because it won't feel like it was supposed to previous years anyway this year. So it's already like, I wouldn't even say it's a 50-50 for me right now, because the announcement is just that. It's been an announcement and it's letting us know it's more inclusive, but beyond that, we don't really know what else they're planning to do. And that already has me going, HowarCon is happening. Oh yeah, they did the announcement, but we don't know much more about it yet. So it's like, without any other news updates on that, it is hard for me to get excited about it compared to any other toy show there is out there right now, I guess.
It'll be interesting to see what the guest list is, to see what the message is that they're giving us. I know that it was a bummer for this last ParaCon that Mattel, their team couldn't show up to present and to talk with the fans. They put together a really nice video presentation instead, and that's for safety reasons because of the pandemic. I don't know what the availability will be like for everybody this year. We'll see. If it was within driving distance, it would be an absolute yes. I mean, for me, but yeah, since it would be another plane ride, it's a wait and see.
Yeah, hopefully they'll start releasing some kind of teaser information so people can get excited.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like we've been spoiled having a PowerCon, a convention that was exclusive to He-Man and She-Ra all these years, and not to say that it won't be a strong presence at this year's PowerCon show. It just makes you think, right? Like,
I mean, I just hope that it works.
I think so. I mean, it's...
Well, the big thing I know, like when they were trying New York, a lot of people held out because they were waiting to see who was going to be coming.
Yeah.
Before buying the tickets. And I know every year, even though I would say, yeah, I'm going to PowerCon, I would still wait until I heard at least the first couple of guests before I committed, here's the money for the tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you there. And that's part of it. Like, I know with certain, depends where they are in the actual like schedule of the year. certain ones that are like end of summer going into fall, I don't blame them for not having a roster already announced, because that's still, months away. But there is that, get the appetite whet for the people that are excited to go or thinking about going in that way. So I think for me at least, it'll be the next month or two where it really tells me what I plan to do about that one more than
Right.
anything, just based on my budgeting and stuff, to be honest. So,
Well, figuring it is an August date, so hopefully by the first week of March, we should hear some of the people who are going to come out.
yeah,
Some of
and
the guests.
that's kind of why if I give it until about March-ish, and maybe even like the very beginning of April, that'll help me to make my decision what I plan to do, because that's still like 4 months before it happens, versus
Right.
here I am, like, I don't want to be in June and all of a sudden go, oh, I'm gonna do it, and then I only have like 2 months to figure out how I'm getting everything to work. Even though I'm not taking a plane, there's still, I need the hotel room, and make sure I have some cash, obviously, in case I do see something really cool I want to bring home. But I need that earlier in the year with how my budgeting works right now, versus, like,
Sure.
okay, here we are at May, and now I'm like, how am I handling this or whatever? That's just how it works with my house.
That's
right
the
now,
same
so.
way I am. I mean, I'm planning on going down to Texas in a few months for a wedding, but the person who's getting married told me back in October.
Yeah.
So I could budget it out
Exactly.
and figure out, how do I tell my boss I need a couple of days off
Well, and
have that time to look for a sub.
Yep.
Well, and I wonder what I assume they will likely have some Masters of the Universe exclusive offerings, very similar to what we've seen in the past.
I remember Val's stating in that release that they weren't sure if they were working with Mattel or if they were going to go with a smaller toy company.
Oh, okay. Well,
so if they're going with a smaller toy company, it won't be an official Masters of the Universe without Mattel signing off on it.
Well, if there are no like Origins, Masters of the Universe exclusives this year, I honestly wouldn't mind, just because how expensive the exclusive sets can be, and not to mention the shipping. And so, I'm sure that there would still be plenty of offerings directly from Mattel at retail stores and online. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still trying to find Motherboard Triclops.
Oh.
He has not hit around me yet.
I think what's funny is the last 2 years have made me look at conventions and go, if I go to this, it doesn't even matter if there's an exclusive. What matters to me is getting to be with the people that love this again. And like I got to go to Legion's Con in November, and they did have an exclusive there, and that was awesome. But that wasn't what was swaying my mind of going. That was more of the cherry on top is that. But how cool is it to be with people that enjoy something I love? And I haven't been able to do that other than posting online about it for a year or whatever, And I agreed with David on that. It's very much, we're used to that. We're conditioned to it, to have these exclusives, and it's nice that they're offered and they're there, but it's really kind of cool to also just be in the same space as people that get what you love and will be there to enjoy it just as much as you. And that's way more my convention experience these days, because man, 2020 just had me sitting here climbing the walls going, I can only look
Yep.
at my classics so many times before I'm going, I just need to talk to somebody in person. You know?
Oh, I understand that
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah, I totally get you.
So yeah.
Well, and I'm sick of I'm sure we're all sick of this stuff. Going to the show and everybody has to wear masks, and there's so many people. There were a ton of people at PowerCon last year, and vendors. I feel like there wasn't any problem. I really doubt that Val had any problem getting vendors and people to show up last year. It looked like a
No, because
packed show.
one of the vendors already announced that they're doubling the size of their PowerCon booth for this year.
Nice.
Eternia Dreams has already committed to going.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Very cool.
Nice.
But it's going to be a wait and see. For me, besides being amongst people who enjoy the brand, I also go for the panels,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for that behind the scenes stuff. And that's what normally attracts me. I mean, my very first PowerCon that I went to, and they did it for about 4 or 5 years. They would have a special dinner that you could buy into and sit and have dinner with all these amazing guests.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you found out who you had to keep the liquor away from, too.
My goodness.
Let's just say a certain Lion-O voice actor you don't want to see drunk.
Oh my god. There's
But
got to
I
be some outtakes from that one, just like there were outtakes of the Thundercat stuff years ago that were making me laugh hysterically. So, yeah.
Yeah, thinking
have
back to past PowerCon events, and I really do hope that we can have that same great experience. The PowerCon, after con parties,
oh God, I remember some of those after midnight parties and them recording the roast google at midnight
yeah.
and the pool party with the Four Horsemen at 1 a.m.
Well, and just the
Oh,
familiar faces, and yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's what made it feel like family. Where you got together with your family once a year for the reunion. Everyone knew everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what I think my overall fear is, that it will lose that feeling.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that level. I mean, when you change it and you're not even sure who's going to show up, that does make you just question, well, will it be the same and all that? And I mean, like I said, for me, it would just be, hey, I'm showing up. It's my first time. But then there'd be that part of me going, I missed all the other times. I'm going to hear all these stories. And, that's cool. But I just kind of wish I was there for that too, unfortunately. But I wasn't. So.
Yeah, well,
It's a wait and see.
yeah. It's change happens. It's, and yeah, it could be just as good or better as what we've experienced in the past. We'll
That's
see.
true.
And if you know of anything that we could do while we're out in Columbus, other than going to sporting events, let us know on our Facebook page. maybe we're wrong that this can become a destination vacation.
Yeah, that would be fun for PowerCon on their website to show us like different events going on that weekend, different places to enjoy if you're in the area, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, when it was out in California, that they didn't have to give us that because everyone knew, oh, California, LA, okay, we know where Disney World's there, and we have this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how far Columbus is from Cedar Point, which I know is a big amusement park in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I've taught about their roller coasters enough years that if it was close enough, I'd say, all right, there's another reason why I'd want to go there, because then I could bring back pictures of the roller coasters I'm teaching about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can, aside from the Paracon convention, people can still gather on he-man.org throughout the year to chat about Masters of the Universe, and there are the Facebook groups,
Yes.
many of which I own.
I know the Mega Construct group, there's been some talk because Amazon is starting to ship out the Havoc staffs. Some people have received it. I know I received my shipping notice that I'm supposed to be getting it within the next 2 weeks.
Nice. Yeah,
So,
I saw that.
bunch of purple pieces trying to put them together.
Yeah, that's a lot of purple Legos. For sure.
That's what people said about Grayskull. That's a lot of green all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
What I
But
remember.
they were really good because everything was in bags, numbered.
Yeah.
Where I've gotten Lego sets and it's just one big pile of Legos.
That's the you figure it out kit. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm really hoping that we can celebrate, an announcement of like an Origin Snake Mountain playset this year. I know we've seen test shots of the Mega Constructs Snake Mountain playset that they're working on.
Yes.
Yeah. They're still churning out Origins figures and Masterverse figures and some Eternia minifigures.
Well, the minis are now even doing the CGI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Because I saw Skeletor and the Sorceress already.
Yeah, those little guys can be pretty addicting. Reminds me of how much fun it was to collect muscle figures and battle beasts.
Yeah, that muscle was that was fun. And I agree. Like seeing those, it's the same thing. The one nice thing is at least they're now blister packed. So at least hey, if I need Fisto, I can go get Fisto. I saw a whole bunch of them at Target the other week, and I was smiling and showed my son, and he was naming them all, and I'm like, I trained you well. I'm so proud of you. Which,
nice.
ironically, what's funny? Over Christmas, the one complaint I've gotten from my kids more than he's bugging me, she stole my toy, and all that kind of stuff was, when are they going to put season 2 of the CGI show out? And I just look at him, I'm just like, I don't know, but I'm waiting just as much as you guys. So it's that thing. It's the whole change and the whole trying to get a new generation. They did it. So my kids are like ravenous for this thing, and I'm thrilled that at least something caught on with them, and they get to understand why dads love this barbarian yelling, "I have the power" for 40 years, basically, and I'm definitely looking forward to any news that we hear about that one in particular, because that one, That one's welcome in my home at all hours. No problem about that.
Sure. I mean, it's so much fun, when you've got a show that you can share with your wife or your kids. You can enjoy it together. Yeah.
And actually, that actually reminds me. I didn't mean that to be a segue into that, but I did like that we saw the Manny faces for that as a
Oh, yeah.
toy. So that not only gives us, he might be showing up next season, but we also get to see the take that they're going to do with him. And I actually thought that was a really cool figure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was surprised that we saw Manny so soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really stylized, real. It's got an interesting take for sure on that one.
Mm-hmm. But it looks like he's even got like soft goods on him, which surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, that and all it does for me at least is He-Man, Fisto, Manny Faces were always like my trifecta and master. So I'm just like, okay, I got 2 out of 3 here. Can't wait to see what you do with Fisto, because I'm gonna be honest, if he shows up and make a couple of fist jokes and then he dies, I'm gonna be kind of annoyed at that show. So it's like, Kevin Smith, you took him from me. Let's see what you do with CGI. Let's hope it's a little bit of a better fate now.
Right, yeah.
But,
Who knows? It could be a girl being Fisto now.
you know what? Hey, I got nothing on that. I mean, I would have never picked Ram Man to be the one that they turn into Ram Mam. And now that they did it, I'm like, okay. Like, if they would have said this is the original and they turned it into Ram Mam, I would have been like, maybe not,
But it works.
It does. It does. And actually, it's funny. My daughter, her favorite character is still Tila and Sorceress, but my son thinks she's awesome. Like, he loves Ram Man and he likes He-Man. Those are his 2 go-to characters. And I'm like, that's sweet. Did not expect that out of that series.
It could be a character that has 2 metal arms, like robotic arms that aren't just permanently in fists, but are just these mechanical, robot arms. Yeah, they could do some cool things with the design.
Mm-hmm. Well, after seeing what they did with Trapjaw, I'm all about it, because I really enjoyed what they did with him in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, who knows what we're gonna get this year. I really do hope that we get another season of the Revelation series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they left us on a big cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a teaser of what could be if there was a second season, for sure. Yeah.
Well, there was
Sort of like the end of the '87 movie when Skeletor popped back in the post-credit scene.
I'll be back. No, you won't. I love Frank as Skeletor. I still think that's one. He chilled me as a child. He literally chilled my blood watching him, because I did not know if he was going to kill everybody by the end of that movie. Every time he swung himself around, I'm like, oh god, like this is like Dad is mad and I'm running for my room kind of like tone. This is no good. It's like at 8 years old, you knew that tone, But But yeah, like I saw something just the other day where Kevin Smith posted saying, uh, basically he wasn't guaranteeing it, but he was saying, that he hopes that they do go forward with something with or without him.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of people that, because he didn't record the writers episodes to part 2 like he did to part 1.
Right.
And there were a lot of people speculating, again, speculation, but they were thinking all of the negativity from the first part took the wind out of their sails to do some of that they did for the first part, away from the second part. And in all honesty, with how that went down, I don't blame them for going, look, I'm happy with what I did there, but I don't want to weather that twice.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lot of negativity, and I don't blame them.
It's basically what he said in the video, right? That it, all of the the negative reactions really took a lot of the excitement out of, you know, all the love that came out of that work. So you can tell his expression, you know, his reaction was just like you said. It must be that he just really wasn't feeling it for this second set of episodes.
So for me, I mean, if I look back on Revelation, there's definitely like a couple things where I'm like, if they would have done it this way or that way, and it's not even story point wise because that's a whole different thing. But how come they did the two parts? I don't understand that for the life of me. Why didn't they just release it around Thanksgiving or Christmas and have it as like a holiday? Hey, remember when you
Like
got Castle Grayskull for Christmas? You know, like hey, 40 years ago you got Castle Grayskull for Christmas. Here it is again. You know, you can be a kid again on Christmas Day. You know, I mean, that would have been awesome. And just do all 10 episodes. You have like freaking 5 hours of viewing pleasure on Christmas of something new.
I think it would have been received much better if they did that.
Exactly. And then the other thing for me, and this is just my personal thing, is I honestly wish they would have done 12 rather than 10 for episodes because when we talked about it, even on the show, we kind of brought it up where it did feel like the first part really did take its time to build, and the episodes were building towards something. And by the time you get to that last episode in the first part, there was this, wow, here we are at a cliffhanger. What's going to happen next? And it felt like in the second part, they were rushing, mad dashing it to the finish that it felt like it wasn't the sum of its whole. And I felt like they could have used at least one or two more episodes, one way or the other, so that they could have expanded some of that stuff. Because it's like the turn with Evelyn, that was something that came out of nowhere that you're like, okay, we're going here now. Oh, you know, like detour, we're not going to deal with He-Man versus Skeletor anymore. And it went down all these different places that I didn't expect it to go. And it's like, it would have been nice to have another 40 minutes maybe to expand some of that so you are able to
Understand what was
yes, understand, and also let it marinate a little bit too, so that you're seeing these changes and you're going with them instead of them being shocking, not just to the story but just to you going, wait a minute, what the heck is happening here or whatever. And
Right.
I mean, those would be my big, you know, critiques of the overall. Like that would have, I think it would have helped it. The voice cast was amazing. I can't really say anything bad about that. There were parts of the story I have issues with, but for the most part, it was the timing of it. Like they really mishandled letting only half of it debut when other series out there, they can put them all out there. Like Witcher, the whole season's out there for you to watch. When they did Voltron, the whole season's out there to watch.
Cobra Kai, the whole season.
Cobra Kai, the whole season. And it's like all of a sudden He-Man just gets 5 episodes. You're like, oh. Even CGI He-Man, all of those episodes are out there all the way to the end of the season. So I just felt bad. And it's like, you know, I feel bad for Kevin Smith because I know he was trying to do something that he thought we'd love, you know. And then I also feel bad for like Ted Biaselli because I know that hit him really hard too, going like, man, I thought people were gonna love this, and now look at the and it's like, you know,
that's what I think ruined it.
So I don't know, but
Well,
I mean, we can change directions at least because we did get a little Christmas present from a fan who also has his pulse on the animation from our childhood.
what I think he's, you know, James has really proven himself to be, you know, one of the top fans of Masters of the Universe of all time for sure. With this project,
unless you're talking about Wikipedia, because Wikipedia actually downgraded.
I saw that the other day. I'm like, oh great, I'm not even putting my toe into that ring because I'm tired of what happened with the Revelation. But it's like, if you're in the community, you're like, you know, you don't touch James. You damn well know that guy knows his stuff. Simple as that.
Hey, as a teacher, I tell my kids they can't use Wikipedia because anyone can post on there and anyone can delete things on there.
Well, that's the thing. Whoever it was that did that to him, all I can hear in the back of my head is, "But you're missing the director's original intent." And it's like, oh, you're going to be that guy. Okay, yeah.
Can we
So,
send Skeletor to that guy, please?
Skeletor be like, he's not even worth crushing with my boot. But yeah. But yeah, James Eatock, if you funded, if you did the Kickstarter for Faking Filmation, James Eatock and Ron McCallum gave the fans a hell of a Christmas present to make you feel young again this year. That was awesome.
Oh, yes. Can we say it was more of a lost episode of the Filmation show?
Oh,
The official lost episode?
it really did feel like, like, oh my God, they found that one that they've always said is out there,
Well, and I wanted to say that, it was kind of like Christmas was kind of like, we got hit with the news of Mark Taylor's passing,
Yeah.
and this, I really feel like watching the Return of Faker episode really helped, with some of the healing from that to, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that was really, it couldn't have been better timing, really.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. And
It was so wonderful after all these years, because I've seen bits and pieces throughout the years from James,
yeah.
to see the whole thing.
Yeah. At last. And wow. It's great that, now a lot of other people have seen it, and once the DVDs are actually out, then we'll, then an even larger audience will be able to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Plus, the DVD should have the extended version, because remember, he said he was adding 9 more minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I got to, I don't know. I've been lucky enough to be one of the people that James sends a holiday card through Facebook Messenger to each year, and I'm always, it's just like that warms my heart. Like, I love that I'm part of the community, because I mean, he does it right like that. And
Oh, yeah.
and
I love his cards, too.
Yeah, and this
And
year
how they always kill Smurfs.
Yes, yeah. And I reached out. I'm like, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good Christmas. And then he was like, oh, and don't forget. And I'm like, just a couple days before, I'm like, I remember the code was in the email. I just didn't get to it, and literally, like right after I sent him that message, I'm like, watching it right now, and I just put it on, and
Yep.
I just I closed the door. I'm like, the kids left me alone for for as long as it was on, and I'm just sitting there going, this is crazy how, like, it didn't feel like he reused anything. It felt like it was its own episode. And I know he went back and he found dialogue from episodes so that they can make, John Irwin come back as He-Man, and Alan Oppenheimer back as Skeletor in their prime and everything. But it never felt like it was anything that was like stitched together in a wrong way. It felt like it all worked in the way that, like, it felt like literally Filmation just did that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. And in a perfect world, we would see that episode featured on Netflix with a documentary on how it was made, and but that's just me dreaming.
Don't forget, we still have, they're making the Faking Filmation documentary, so we are going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it goes to Netflix, another story.
Yeah.
You
could always pick it up. I mean, if there's no giant lawsuit or anything like that.
Yeah. I what was funny though is after I watched it, I messaged James back and I told him he managed to do it. He managed to make my favorite episode of Filmation. And for the longest time, my favorite Filmation episodes were the part 1 and part 2 of House of Shakoti, because that one, I'll still love that one to my dying day for the fact that it went to some dark places that you didn't see it very often on that show. I absolutely love that about that. And I love it, like when He-Man and Ram-Man and Battle Cat were caught by Shakoti, I literally was like my stomach, my heart was in my stomach just going, I don't know how they're getting out of this one and all that, and it's like in this one, James went to some places where I'm like, I like that even more by the time you get to the ending. And I couldn't not tell him that. Like he did it. He managed to really make that one of my absolute favorite episodes, even though it's not technically in the Filmation canon, but I consider it that. He's so much of a fan that it's like it feels almost the same thing as like, Ivan Reitman directing Ghostbusters and now his son is stepping up and he did Ghostbusters After. It almost feels in that flavor of, it's like he picked up the torch from Lou Scheimer and said, I got one in me, let's do this. Like, I really want to do this. It matters to me.
Yeah.
And how cool was it to just see Faker the way that Faker was in your hand as an action figure finally on the cartoon? That was just cool to begin with.
Oh, so cool, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and you're right, and it's canon. I mean, it's so easy for it to be canon because it's not like he goes in there and kills a bunch of characters. It's
No,
it can totally, you can totally see that as being a real episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's episode 132.
and it's in a show that where you can watch it based pretty much pretty much any episode you can watch without feeling like, oh, I need to watch the number, first episode, then 2, then 3. No, it's you can watch any episode anytime and enjoy it just as much without feeling like you're lost in the story. So yeah,
and that was always something with all of the Filmation cartoons. You can pick up one right now and know everything that's going on. Because I know I used to watch the Fat Albert cartoon.
Yeah, pretty much most cartoons from our childhood went there. I mean, the only one I could think of was like Thundercats kind of kept a running. It wasn't like constantly, but there was definitely a running story once you got to certain story points in it, at least. Building, but yeah.
Also, it was Gem and the Holograms was the same way. There was after the first season, they did have a running story where you had to see them pretty much in order.
See, I didn't even know that.
And the same with Voltron.
Yeah, that's right, Voltron. Yeah. Actually, some of G.I. Joe did that. Okay, maybe never mind. I always do this to myself on this show.
G.I. Joe did mini movies
they had
put up over 5 weeks. Over 5 weeks.
Because I remember like the Rise of Serpentor was like an entire week-long saga they did, and there were definitely more than that.
It was supposed to be originally released in the movie theaters.
That would have been better than what they tried to do, because I hated that Cobra Law garbage. Ugh. I hated that.
Well, after Hasbro's misstep with the Transformers and having so many of our generation going to see therapists after killing Optimus Prime, they changed their mind with G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Because they were also going to kill off Duke originally in the original script.
That would not have made me lose sleep, because I never liked Duke when I was a kid.
No.
Like Optimus was like a father figure. Duke to me was just like, you're the star of the show, but you're not as interesting to me as like Snake Eyes or Flint or whoever else. It's like Duke to me was the most white bread thing you could have imagined in cartoon form half the time.
And he was pretty much written out of the second or third season anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then
Especially
it
when
went.
they brought in Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, then he took the spotlight too. That's right. Yeah, but no, are we even going to do spoilers, or are we going to let the fans get to watch it on their own? Because there's some things I want to talk about, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
I think we'll keep this spoiler free until till our next episode. Then we
That
can
works.
Sure.
Because I know some people might have not checked their emails to see it.
Yeah. Especially
or
with the
want to
holiday
rewatch
season.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while there, no one wanted to turn on their computers. Because every time I went on Facebook, I'm like, not another one.
Yeah. Well, I'll say I really liked it, and I was very impressed after hearing about this for as long as we've heard about this, and I didn't get to see it at PowerCon. So for me, I've heard about this, and it was the urban legend of him trying to make this happen, and like the story he wanted to write and all this stuff. And once you see it play out, it's just like, yeah, like this. This is the good stuff. So, James, if you're listening, again, excellent work. You and your team did a great job with that, and thank you for that Christmas present this year. Like David said, we definitely needed that after the news of Mark Taylor this year, or last year. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you, James, for making us all feel like kids at Christmas again.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best Christmas gift I've received.
That's right.
Well, I think that's bringing us to the end of this week's episode.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Remember to check out adultcollector.org on Facebook and the many groups. Remember to join our Facebook group. We're getting up there. We have 2.3 thousand right now. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because throughout the year, I will be putting up older episodes from the past 10 years. Until next time, good journey.
And hi, this is David Clark, owner of adultcollector.org. It was so wonderful. It's been a while, getting back together with you two, being able to talk shop about Masters of the Universe. And I would like to encourage everybody to check out the Origins fans group on Facebook and the 66,000 member He-Man and the Masters of the Universe fans group on Facebook. We're going to be celebrating 10 years of adultcollector.org. I'll probably put together like a giveaway. And until next time, good journey.
And this is Shawn Skvarna. Congratulations, David and Kelly, on their respective anniversaries this year. That's amazing. I was joking at the beginning of the show before we started recording. I became a dad about that year, but that's about the biggest thing I can say. So, but congratulations on adultcollector.org's 10th and also Council the First one's 10th. So that's crazy. If you want to hear more out of me about Masters of the Universe, join me over on Legends of Grayskull with Matthew Deutsch. We talk about the history of the mystery, the magic and mythology of Masters and Princes of Power, and any other news we can find. And thanks for having me back on again. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a good holiday and good journey, everybody.